Hello, everyone. Welcome to eTalks, the science, culture, and art discussions. My name is Zainab, and I will be your host for tonight. Today, we have a wonderful guest, Marita Grudzen. So, welcome, Marita.
Thank
So, she
you.
is a associate director Emerita and a founding member of the Stanford Geriatric Education Center, and she was one of the co-recipients of the Templeton Award for the medical school required curriculum of spirituality and meaning in medicine, which I think is a wonderful achievement. So, congratulations. And since every year, since 2011, Marita with her husband Jerry have co developed, implemented, evaluated, and revised an interfaith leadership program in partnership with Christian, Muslim, and African indigenous religious leaders in Kenya. She is also a member of the Global Ministries University faculty and secretary of the Global Interfaith Biannual Conference, walking together in the spirit of Laudato Si and Fratelli Tutti. And today we will discuss companioning oneself with journaling, and she will also mention the Global Interfaith Conference, which will be taking next week. So, welcome, Marita. How are you today?
Thank you so much for such a generous introduction. I'm doing very well, and I'm very happy to be here tonight to share something that has been extremely helpful to myself over time.
That's awesome. And we're so happy to have you here. And we want to know, how journaling and how, writing has helped you. So would you like to discuss about that?
Yes, I can go ahead. Um, Let me say a couple of things. First of all, there has been research done on certain conditions like asthma and other chronic conditions um, with an intervention of writing, personal writing, very much akin to journaling. It was a form of journaling for patients over a period of time, and it made a significant difference. And I have asthma myself. That's not the reason I started journaling, but I can understand so well why, in fact, that would have an impact on my asthma attacks. So it's funny because I think of myself as being an apostle. Now, that may be a very uh, primarily a religious term, but I mean it in a colloquial way. I'm very much a promoter of journaling. And I say that because of journaling for how many years now? Well, 50 for sure, 50 for sure. And there have been different times in my life where it's been critical. And I'll describe a couple of those. And then I'm going to describe some exercises.
That will be
First,
awesome because we want to know 50 years of journaling, what it could do to you. Because I'm sure many of our, viewers also journal, but I'm sure that they didn't know the health benefits of it. So we are really excited to learn from you about that.
well, the man who influenced me the most is someone you can research yourself. And his name is Progoff, Progoff. And Dr. Progoff studied with Carl Jung. And before he died, obviously. And Dr. Progoff, Ira is his first name, IRA. Ira Progoff developed a method of dialoguing with oneself. And I'll explain more what that is. But it's a process that creates some space between yourself and an event that happened or a person that you're having difficulty with um, or a challenge in your life. And I'll describe two instances where uh, journaling itself, just the act of journaling, was very helpful to me, because I think they are examples of ways that a lot of us have experiences in our life. Many of us, well, all of us go through transitions. And some transitions, sometimes there's a choice in a transition. And that happened for me. I was a Catholic nun at the time, actually, and was aware that I was in love with a priest, and he was in love with me. And that presented a problem, because we both had taken vows of celibacy. So it was a big decision. I mean, I was very happy in the religious life that I was leading. I was serving people. I was out in the community. I led a life of prayer with other, with my community. And it really took quite a while to process that decision. I did eventually leave, and my husband left, and we've been married over 50 years, doing a lot of the same work, so service and such. So what I want to bring up about journaling, why it's so important when you're making a decision or going through a transition. Every day we have different thoughts about that transition or that decision. And by writing our experience each day, we are able to have it on paper and to clear our mind, so that the next day, when we might think of it differently or have a different perspective, we can write that, and that's down. And then you're clearing your mind. You're not trying to hold all these pros and cons in your mind, but you have a place to put them. And it's just part of your decision process. So I think it's very important in making a decision. It's in being true to yourself, where there are conflicting values, or there are factors that are going to impact other people. It's a wonderful way to sort it out. I'm not saying it's the only way. I'm just saying it's a very good way.
I totally agree with you, because journaling, as of my young age, I remember like when I was in like 4th grade, 5th grade, writing down stuff, when I got back from school, just how I spent my day. And I, as I read those, diaries, as I was journaling, day by day, I realized how much all my thoughts has changed. They were sometimes the same, sometimes I had different thoughts. But I also saw my progression as of my age as well, as of some kind of maturity. So I'm so curious about to see, how those changes or similarities that you saw in your 50 years of journaling.
Yes. Well, one thing I want to say before I go to another example and then get into an exercise is that I find the most important thing is the act of writing itself, writing the journal today. And what I mean by that is, people will often ask me, have you gone back and read your other journals? Well, I'll tell you, I saved journals for a long time, and now I started to throw them out, because while it's true, there are some critical times in our life where we want to have that perspective on paper, and we want to be able to see our growth. I find that it's the practice of writing that that is very important to me anyway, because in the moment is when it's in the now when your creativity can flourish, The other example I want to bring up is something that also is the result of just daily writing. It happened about it happened in 1980, actually. It's when we were first coming to California, and we were staying with friends, and we had been invited out that night to join another community for a party, a birthday party. And so I got home about 11 o'clock, and my husband and I did. And so that's when I usually journaled, was at the end of the day. But you know, I I deliberated whether or not I should do it. And I'm so glad I did, because what I did, many times in the journaling, we write down the events of the day. And I wrote down the fact that just before we went out to this birthday party, my dad had called me. My sister had called me that my dad was in the hospital. Now, my dad had asthma and hay fever all his life. He had many episodes of pneumonia. He wasn't a sick man, but as he got older, he had several hospital stays, let me put it that way. So I couldn't call my dad at that time because the hospital wasn't taking calls then. So I told my sister, well, I'll call my dad tomorrow. So then as I wrote this down, just my sister called and said, dad is in the hospital. And all of a sudden, like lightning, it came to me that my father could die. My father was 70 at the time. And that was the first time it really grabbed me. And I was angry with my father about something. And I had been for a long time. It didn't have anything to do with sexuality. I won't go into exactly what it was, but it hurt me deeply. And it seemed to recur. And I said to myself, I have to forgive my father before he dies. But I didn't know how. Do you ever, I wasn't going to a psychologist or anything. You know how you can have a feeling you've just got to do something and you don't know how to do it. So I thought, well, I'm going to carry this question in my heart and, continue to journal. Well, it was really important to me. And I was coming back through Chicago, and that's where my mom and dad lived. So what I want to point out is that the journaling made me realize that I really wanted to do this. I didn't know how. I knew my father could die. So ironically, I don't know if it's ironically, it's kind of like you're preparing the soil in your soul for something to happen, And when I was with my dad and mom for dinner, after we finished dinner, I asked my dad if we could go into the other room, the two of us, and talk. And we had an extraordinary talk. And it just lifted all of that. And so, I mean, to me, and then my father died in an automobile accident 3 months after that. And so it's like, it was such a powerful event for me spiritually, So those are just some of the reasons that I really recommend journaling. Now, Ira Progoff, he developed this method of, dialoguing with the self. What I'm going to do is just share with you briefly and introduce you, when you open your notebook, to 2 ways of his first 2 processes. And the first one is called a period log. So what we're talking about here is I'm going to lead you in just a few minutes of breathing, just focused breathing. And then I want you to think about, how would you name the period of your life you're in right now? Now, uh, this this is something you determine. There's no right and wrong. So let's throw that out the door. There's also no judgment, absolutely no judgment. So let me give you some examples. If someone had a serious illness that was still had an impact on them, let's say they were in an automobile accident or something, or if someone, that could be the period. So the period includes how far back something is still having an impact on your daily life now. So it could be starting a new semester where maybe the courses are more difficult, or maybe it's getting a job while you're going to school and that kind of stress. Maybe it's a new friend who's just bringing such joy into your life. Um, Maybe it's a period of kind of a depression. Um, I am someone who suffers from what is that called? Seasonal. It's called. I don't know if anybody can help me. What is it called? Seasonal depression. Anyway, when the winter comes and there's less light, it lowers my mood, you know, and my energy. I really feel it. And seasonal affect, that's what it's called. So I used to feel it much more than I do now, but when I did feel it earlier, I mean, it was really difficult. I noticed it. I didn't like how it felt, my low energy, my, slightly depressed mood. Um, so that would be a possibility, if I were experiencing that. It started around the end of November, let's say, and, goes till early February. Um, what other things could,
Could be a family issue. It could be,
yes, yes,
what else? It could be a very actually happy feeling.
oh,
So something that
absolutely.
has changed, or a surprise or field trip, or a community service that has changed your life, meeting with someone. So any of those. For audiences
Absolutely.
with a pen and a notebook, you
Yes,
guys can, write those down to, just to think about. It could be an event, it could be something that happened to you, or you have done something to others or to a
that
place.
impacts you.
So,
Right,
yeah, change
right.
of location, would that count, Marita?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Anything that is impacting you still now.
All right.
So what I'm going to do, first of all, is to lead us in some breathing relaxation. And then we want to move out of our rational mind to really get a feeling. Where are we? What period is this in my life? It might be something that started very recently. It might go back a year. It might go back 2 years. So, so we'll do some breathing together, and just kind of relax so we get out of our rational, mind, and just see what emerges. What am I feeling? You want to pay attention to your feeling.
So we're gonna deep dive in our heart, going back from here to down there.
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
exactly, exactly. So let's put our pen and pencil down and become aware of your breathing. You don't have to change your breathing, just become aware of the physical sensation
All right, guys. So we're right now all doing a breathing exercise, also writing down a period log, which Marita just has taught us that it could be something very happy moment of your life. It could be a very depressing part of your life. It could be anything that has been impacting you now. It could be something that yesterday that happened and it is impacting you now. It could be something that has happened a year ago that is still impacting you right now. For example, as a college student, my class decisions that I made around like 3 months ago that are still affecting me today. So let's just take a couple minutes. During our live, we're just gonna take a couple minutes to just jot down on our, notebook, a period of our life that is still, impacting us, and we'll be right back with you. All right, we're back.
Hello, everyone. So, I'm wondering if any of you were able to identify a period, just the beginning, the boundary of, what this period, when it began.
So I have seen a couple of periods actually in the chat. Marita, would you like me to tell you?
Yes, please.
All right. So I have seen some school stuff because most of our viewers are students. So I'm seeing on the YouTube that some of our viewers are identifying a period of their academic life. I have
Mm-hmm,
written down when I moved from a different city. So there are things that is life-changing experiences that might
mm-hmm,
still impact us today.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So very good, wonderful. Now, there's another step to this, and the step is you have a beginning period, right? I, you want to, sometimes when we start in academia, or we start taking our first year, it's different than our feeling of being in the second year, and the same with the third year. So what I want you to do is to identify, did this period in your life start, if you are identifying it with college or graduate school, did it start in the semester you're in now, or did it start, um, when you first began going to college or graduate school? Because you want to discern what is affecting you now. So, and because these periods, as I say, are typically different, your first year, your second year, your third year, but maybe the whole experience has common features for you. So that's for you to decide. And of course, moving is a big change. So if that's what's, you have to tell, you can only tell the period you're in on a feeling level. So I really want to stress that. Don't do it with your mind. So, I mean, your mind helps, but you want to really feel what is impacting me now? What period am I in now? Now, the next thing that you do in this period is that you jot down just briefly, the people, the events, any circumstances that are part of this um, this period you're in right now. So don't make it, you can always go back and add things, but are there particular people that maybe there's a professor if you're um, in college, or maybe you're a TA for a course, and that's giving you a whole different sense. I don't know. I don't know what the felt sense is for anyone. And so just jot down the people, the events, any circumstances that come to you about that um, period, and just write short sentences, just so that when you go back sometime and read that, you know what you're talking about, you know what you're reading.
So some things that immediately come up to my mind that I would give as an example to our viewers is that as people, I think about my family when I moved from one city to another because I moved due to, job with my parents. And as of events, I think about, changing schools, having new friends. So I also write down like having new furniture in my house.
Yes,
So,
yes.
that's a big change for me. So getting a new house, having new neighbors, and I also said I think having a new community, so that's also a big thing. So, and then the circumstance, I think one of the circumstance is that it was during summer. So it was like a very hot summer day when I moved from one city to another. So I remember how tiring it was, moving from one place to another.
Mhm.
So yeah, those are the things that I have written down. So our audience, if you have written down some things yourself, please feel free to type in the chat and I can just share it with our guest.
while you're doing that, one of the things that is intrinsic to this whole process is that it's an organic process. So that, if we're in a period of, let's say, low depression, it's going to move and change. Just like when you plant a seed, we're part of nature too. And our physical body, our mental state, our soul, our emotions, they're all moving organically. And so, and by writing down what period you're in, it helps you to understand you're in a specific period in your life. Your whole life wasn't like this particular period. So those are a couple of things that are helpful.
Yes, thank you so much, Marita. So now, should we do this like I've seen some questions like, should we do this every day, every 2 days? How should we start this?
No. So what we're doing is we're focusing on where am I in my life now? So we're just kind of putting ourselves in a period that has certain characteristics that are impacting us as we live our life. Now, I'm going to ask you to take a minute, 60 seconds,
All right,
to go into that feeling state and to see if there is a symbol or an image. Could be a smell, a scent. It could be a sound that characterizes, that kind of symbolizes this period.
All right, I'm gonna do that right now. And for our audience, we have 60 seconds, guys. And I will let you know. Meanwhile, we can think about a sound, a scent, anything that reminds us that.
Yes, or an image, I'll just mention that when I first did this, I was a very young mother, and I didn't even know if I could take the time away from my infant to go to this program. So it became clear to me that I was in this period that started with the birth of my child, and how at the time I was feeling like a puppet, like she could just pull me anyway by her crying or her needs. And that wasn't my whole characteristic experience of being a mother, but that's what I felt that night and in this period. So it was so that image of a puppet came to me. But there's so many different ways you could experience that.
We have a couple seconds left. Meanwhile, I can just tell you my answers. So I just thought about like one of each, I guess, that just came up to my mind. As of an image, I just thought about very bright green trees. Meanwhile, I was on the road from one city to another. I just remember seeing a bunch of just trees on the side of the highway. Just passing by our car and seeing that I will start a new life in a new city. So that's the image that I have in my head, And as a scent, I think about like paint, because if you have moved from one place to another, the scent of paint that you sometimes paint. And as of sound, I think about like honking, because on the highway, I remember lots of honking. It could be a busy day, so those are the things that have come to my mind. So guys, please let us know. What were the one sound, scent, image, or one thing that reminds you of that period of your life. All right. Back to you, Marita.
Thank you. So now we're going to talk about journaling. So we've kind of situated ourselves in a particular era of our life. It could be a couple of months, it could be a couple of years, whatever it is. And we put that aside And then I'm going to talk about journaling. So journaling is a way of continuing this inner life, because what we're trying to do really is to foster our growth, right? As people, as spiritual beings, as citizens. Um, so um, when you write one thing that's very important is that on your period log, you put the date that you wrote it. And then every time you do your journal entry, you put the date. And I also put the time, because you might do it in the morning, you might do it in the evening. It's better to find a regular time to do it. For me right now, it's winding up being the morning because I have more time now. I'm retired. I'm involved in a lot of projects, but I can pretty much, the early morning is a good time for me. And a lot of people, most people I know, do it in later part of the day, at the end of the day. So so you would write down what are the major aspects of your day. And so usually those are events, and you just write it naturally. You're not writing down every time you went to the store, or I went to the cleaners, or I biked around the block. It's not the number of things. It's the things that you feel. So I went, you were mostly, let's say, in school today, or you were mostly caring for your child today. But maybe you noticed, if you were caring for your child, and this happened to me, that you really want to draw your child. And you may think, well, that's crazy. I'm not an artist. But you just may want to do that. I mean, that feeling may come. You can say, I was taking care of my child, and then I had this feeling. Or, my eating is off. I'm going to class at noontime, and I start early in the morning. I really need to get a better routine around my meals, so I'm not snacking all the time. That's another awareness that could come up in relationship to your schedule. Or maybe there are certain deadlines that are just really pressing hard on you.
So it is very nice for us to see it on a paper that's gonna permanently stay there, hopefully, and so that we can go back each time, that it is, very immaterial, we can hold, we can feel it and see that, what we thought about it. Because humans usually forget things very easily. As human beings, it is a truth that, we tend to forget things here and there. And seeing that we have written that on a paper really helps us, to go back and think about what we have felt back then, what do we feel now, and how we have changed.
Yes, right. And some people I've known, I don't do this, but some people will go back and read what they wrote a week ago and what they wrote a year ago. That it, for that contrast. Also to give you a sense of the flow of time, because one of the things about journaling is this experience of flowing, into the future and growing. And growth isn't like this. There are plateaus in life. There are challenges. There are valleys. And so just one of the key things is compassion for ourselves. Remember, I entitled this Companioning Yourself Through Journaling. It's it's all about really nurturing yourself. And you nurture yourself emotionally, but spiritually also, because you're getting some perspective on yourself. And you can write certain things down that you wouldn't say to someone else, or you're not proud about. The point is not to be judgmental, but this is your journal. This is for you. And it's important that you use it in a way that is non-judgmental, but that you're open with your journal and you're really confiding in it, so to speak. So,
Well,
yes, go ahead.
do you have any other points for our viewers?
Pardon?
Do you have any other points about journaling for our viewers that we need to
Yes.
know so that we take
Yeah.
notes from it?
Yes. So number one, be honest. Number two, you don't have to journal every day. What is working for you? How are you supporting yourself? It's private. And so keep it private. You can share if you had an insight, and that is going to happen a lot if you are developing your inner awareness. So you're not just external, but you're developing your inner awareness. You will have insights. Things will come to you. There'll be those aha moments. They'll come more often. And you can share the stuff of your journal, but don't share your journal.
All right, thank you so much, Marita, for being a guest at eTalks today. So we have a couple of questions that we ask to all of our speakers. Actually, first of all, I have done the exercises with our viewers, and I will share this exercise on our social media just to see what I have written. We don't share our journals, but I'm just going to share it as the page that is, that has some writing on it so that people see that, they can do it as well. All right. So the first question is that would you like to recommend our viewers any book that, you love to read, any book that, you want our viewers to read? So any book recommendations from you?
Well, I love the book, any of Thich Nhat Hanh's books. They're very small. He's a Buddhist monk who developed an activism out of Buddhism, which is not usually the case. But he has a wonderful book called Peace in Every Step. And that's a book that I really love. So
that sounds beautiful, and we will sure to take note of that. And I know our technical team is writing that down in our chat, so make sure to check that book out, guys. And what is a movie that you would like to recommend to us?
oh, well, I'll tell you, my husband and I saw a movie on Netflix 2 nights ago that I thought was very good. It's called The Starling.
The Starling.
Starling is the name of a bird. And this couple is going through the death of their daughter, an infant, and they're both having a real crisis. And the bird plays an important part. It's a wonderful, wonderful film, and right on Netflix.
Okay, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. We'll make sure to check it out. And last but totally not least, what are your thoughts on art?
Oh, I think art is, first of all, we all need art as much as we need air. We need the art we make. We need to expose ourselves to other people's art. We need to make art making, creating beauty in our as a everyday part of our lives. I also think that art is essential to social change, because we can, whether it's poetry or painting, a story, a novel, a movie, I think we've all had an experience where a particular form of art has just awakened us to a new dimension of ourselves, of life, of hope, of understanding our human nature.
So I totally agree with that, especially, back then it was the Renaissance where things have changed with the power of art. And right now, today we see lots of movies that sort of enlighten us,
Yes,
paintings that has lots of meaning into it. The music, I would say, is one
yes,
of the
oh,
biggest forms of
absolutely,
art.
absolutely.
When you hear music, it can make you sad, it can make you happy, it can be a friend to you, just listening to a
Yes,
song in a certain situation. So, Marita, thank you so much for your recommendations. We truly, truly appreciate it. And thank you so much to our viewers for tuning in to today's episode of
oh, I
eTalks. We talked
appreciate it.
about journaling. And again, thank you to our guest, Marita, once again for joining us and giving us very useful information. If you guys journal, please make sure to send us of you journaling, not your journal, but just a picture of you journaling to our social media accounts, and you will find them down below. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell and follow us on our Instagram. And today was this week's episode of eTalks. Have a wonderful day and night.
Thank you.